My husband is a data analyst. He optimizes everything. His morning routine, his investment portfolio, his grocery list. I thought it was quirky, endearing even. Then I found the spreadsheet, the one where he had scored me out of 100 points. Before deciding I was worth marrying. I was a 94. I probably should have been flattered. I wasn't. My name is Rachel Monroe. I'm 34 years old, and I'm a graphic designer based in Seattle, Washington. I work primarily with tech startups, brand identity, UI design, the visual language of companies that are trying to convince the world they're going to change it. I'm good at reading what people are actually trying to communicate versus what they think they're communicating. That skill, it turns out, has a limited range. It works beautifully on corporate clients. It failed me completely for 6 years inside my own marriage. Aaron and I met at a friend's dinner party 7 years ago. He was the quietest person in the room. Not shy. Exactly. More like someone who had decided that speaking was something worth doing deliberately rather than constantly. He had the kind of focused attention that makes you feel, when he turns it on you, like you are the most interesting problem he has encountered in some time. I found that attractive. In retrospect, I should have paid more attention to the word problem. He is a senior data analyst at a logistics technology company. He lives in numbers the way some people live in music or language. Patterns, correlations, optimization frameworks. He genuinely believes that most human decision-making is simply poor data management dressed up in emotion, and that the world would function considerably better if people approach their choices the way they approach their spreadsheets. He said this on our third date, with complete sincerity and zero irony. I thought it was fascinating. Reader, I married him. The marriage was good. I want to be honest about that before anything else. 6 years of genuinely good. Not perfect, because no marriage is perfect, but solid and real, and characterized by the particular warmth of two people who have learned each other's rhythms and found them compatible. Aaron was a good husband in the practical sense. Present, reliable, financially responsible to a degree that occasionally bordered on obsessive but never caused actual problems. He remembered things I mentioned in passing. He planned our vacations with the thoroughness of a military operation, which sounds unromantic but in practice meant we never had a bad trip. He was not, it's true, what you'd call spontaneously romantic. There were no grand gestures, no surprise weekend getaways, no flowers for no reason. But there was consistency, the specific, quiet warmth of a man who showed up every day and meant it. I thought that was love. I thought I knew what was underneath it. I was wrong about the underneath part. I found the first spreadsheet on a Sunday afternoon in March. Aaron was at the gym. I was working from home and needed to use his laptop. Mine was updating, and I had a deadline. He'd left it open on the desk, which he never does, which is the kind of small deviation from routine that you only notice in retrospect as significant. I opened a new browser tab and accidentally triggered the recently closed tabs menu. The most recent closed tab was a Google Sheets document titled, and I'm going to give you the exact title because it is important, Partner Selection Matrix version 2.3. I stared at that title for a moment. Then, with the specific curiosity of someone who has just seen something that doesn't make immediate sense, I clicked it. The spreadsheet opened. It had 4 columns, A through D, each headed with a woman's name. Rachel, Jessica, Priya, Lauren. The rows were categories, approximately 40 of them. Intelligence, communication style, conflict resolution approach, financial compatibility, long-term goal alignment, physical attraction, family values, career trajectory, sense of humor, emotional stability. Each cell contained a numerical score from 1 to 10. Each category had a weighted multiplier. At the bottom of each column was a weighted total score out of 100. Rachel, that's me, had scored 94. Jessica had scored 89. Priya 87. Lauren 82. There was a notes column beside each name. Under Rachel it said, highest overall compatibility, strong on emotional intelligence and communication. Minor concerns financial conservatism, may require ongoing alignment conversations. Recommend proceeding. I was a business proposal that had been approved. I sat back in Aaron's desk chair and looked at the ceiling of the apartment we had shared for 5 years and tried to locate, somewhere inside the absolute silence that had descended on my brain, an appropriate emotional response. I couldn't find one immediately. The situation was too specifically bizarre for the standard responses to load properly. Here is the thing about discovering something like this. Your first instinct, or my first instinct, anyway, was not anger. It was something more disorienting than anger. It was the sensation of watching the ground beneath a memory shift, the way a painting changes when you learn something about the painter that reframes every brushstroke. Every moment of our relationship was still real. He had still looked at me across that dinner party with focused attention. He had still said funny things on our third date and held my hand at my father's funeral and built the IKEA bookshelf wrong 3 times before admitting he needed help. All of that had happened. It had just also been accompanied, apparently, by a weighted scoring matrix. I called my best friend Meg from the bathroom with the door closed and the fan on, the universal signal between women that a conversation is happening that requires privacy. He scored me, I said when she picked up, out of 100, before asking me to marry him. There was a spreadsheet, a long silence. A spreadsheet, Meg said. With weighted categories, I said. I got a 94. Another silence. Rachel, Meg said carefully. What are you going to do? I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror. The face looking back at me was doing something complicated, not quite crying, not quite laughing, somewhere in between in the specific way of someone whose brain is processing something too strange for a single clean emotion. I don't know yet, I said. Do you want to come over? Not yet, I said. I need to think. I hung up. I went back to Aaron's desk. I looked at the spreadsheet for a long time. Then I did something that, in retrospect, was the most important decision I made in the entire situation. I didn't close it. I didn't confront Aaron. I didn't do anything at all. I opened my own laptop, update finished, finally, and I started working on my client deadline. And in the back of my mind, very quietly, something was beginning to form. Not a plan exactly, more like the early architecture of one. I was a graphic designer. I understood systems. I understood structure. If my husband wanted to run our relationship like a data project, I was going to learn to speak that language fluently. I did not confront Aaron that Sunday evening. He came home from the gym, showered, made dinner, pasta with a specific sauce he perfected over 3 years of iteration, because of course he had iterated his pasta sauce, and we ate together at the kitchen table and talked about ordinary things. His week, my deadline, the neighbor's renovation that had been generating noise since January. He was warm, present, exactly the husband I had believed he was. I watched him across the dinner table and thought about weighted scoring matrices and wondered what score the pasta had received before it was approved for regular rotation. I said nothing. I smiled at the right moments. And when he fell asleep that night, I lay in the dark beside him and stared at the ceiling and made a decision. I was not going to react from emotion. I was going to react from information, which meant I needed more information. The first thing I did was take photographs of a spreadsheet on my phone. Every tab, every cell, every note in the margin. I did this methodically, in the systematic way Aaron himself would have approved of, which struck me as both ironic and appropriate. Then I started paying attention differently. Not suspiciously. I want to be clear about the distinction. I was not snooping through his phone or following him or doing anything that would have made me feel worse about myself than the situation already warranted. I was simply observing, with the specific attention I apply to design work, the patterns in front of me that I had previously been too comfortable to notice. What I noticed over the following 3 weeks was this. Aaron had a work colleague he mentioned with increasing frequency. Her name was Diane. She was, apparently, brilliant. Aaron used that word specifically, which he did not use casually. She was, apparently, also funny, which he mentioned with a slightly surprised quality, as if this was an unexpected data point. She had, apparently, recently gone through a divorce, which he mentioned once, and then seemed to decide he should not have mentioned. I noted all of this without comment. I also noted that Aaron had begun doing a thing he had not done before, a periodic, almost imperceptible quality of assessment when he looked at me. Not cold, not unkind, just evaluative, the way he looked at his investment portfolio when he was considering rebalancing. I recognized that look. I had seen it in the spreadsheet. The second spreadsheet appeared on a Tuesday evening 6 weeks after I found the first one. I was not looking for it. I had been careful not to look for it. Partly because I didn't want to know, and partly because I understood that knowing prematurely would collapse the space I needed to think clearly. It appeared because Aaron made the same mistake twice. Left his laptop open, recently closed tabs. This document was titled Relationship Evaluation Framework Q1. I sat down. I opened it. It was structured differently from the first spreadsheet. Not a comparison of candidates, but an assessment of an existing relationship. The categories were similar but reoriented. Current satisfaction levels, growth trajectory, opportunity cost analysis, long-term ROI projection, opportunity cost. He had calculated the opportunity cost of being married to me. There were 2 additional columns. One was labeled current, which I understood to mean me, Rachel, his actual wife of 6 years. The other was labeled alternative scenario, which contained, in the notes field, 2 names, Diane, and a woman named Sophie, whom I had never heard of. The current column had scores that were, I noticed, lower than my original 94. Not dramatically. I was sitting at an 81 now, down 13 points in 6 years. But the trajectory notes were what stopped me. Declining growth alignment, communication patterns becoming predictable, financial conservatism concern unresolved, career ceiling possible, recommend continued monitoring and parallel evaluation of alternatives before Q3. Before Q3, it was currently February. He had given himself until, I did the math, approximately July to decide whether to stay married to me. I sat with that for a long time. The apartment was very quiet. Outside, the Seattle evening was doing its reliable thing. Gray and rain-soft, the city lights reflecting off the wet pavement 12 stories below. I thought about 6 years. The pasta sauce. The IKEA bookshelf. My father's funeral. Every vacation planned like a military operation that had never once been a bad trip. I thought about 81 out of 100. I thought about recommend continued monitoring. And something shifted in me. Not dramatically, the way betrayal shifts you in movies. More like a quiet, total rearrangement. The specific internal movement of a person who has just understood something completely and is deciding, with full clarity, what to do with that understanding. I closed the laptop. I picked up my phone and called Meg. I found another one, I said, a sharpened take of breath. How bad? He's evaluating alternatives, I said. He's given himself until July. Rachel. Meg, I said. I need a lawyer, and I need you to come over. Bring wine. I'm already putting on my coat, she said. Meg arrived 40 minutes later with a bottle of Washington Riesling and the expression of a woman prepared to be angry on someone else's behalf for as long as necessary. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Aaron and I had eaten dinner 3 hours earlier, and I showed her the photographs of both spreadsheets on my phone. She scrolled through them in silence. When she looked up, her expression had moved past anger into something more focused. Okay, she said. Okay, so, he scored you before marrying you. Fine. Weird, but fine. But now he's actively evaluating whether to leave you for someone else. While still married to you. While you have no idea. She set the phone down. That's not quirky data analyst behavior, Rachel. He's planning to make a major life decision that directly affects you without telling you it's even a decision he's making. I know, I said. What do you want to do? I have been thinking about this for 6 weeks, in the careful way I think about design problems. Not the first solution that presents itself, but the right one. The one that accounts for all the variables. I want to be very clear about something, I said. I'm not blowing up my marriage out of anger. I'm not making an emotional decision. I paused. But I'm also not going to sit here being monitored while he decides if I'm worth keeping. That's not a marriage. That's a performance review. Meg nodded. I need to know my legal position, I said. Washington is a community property state. We have joint assets. The apartment, the investment account. 6 years of combined financial history. I need to understand exactly what I'm entitled to before I make any move. Smart, Meg said. And then, I said, I need to build something. She looked at me. Build what? I picked up my wine glass. A spreadsheet, I said. Meg stared at me for a moment. Then, slowly, she started to smile. Rachel Monroe, she said. Tell me everything. The attorney's name was Caroline Fisk, a family law specialist in downtown Seattle with a reputation for being methodical, thorough, and completely unsentimental about marital asset division. I met her the following Thursday while Aaron was at work. I brought both sets of photographs. I explained the situation clearly and without editorializing. I told her about the first spreadsheet, the second spreadsheet, the opportunity cost analysis, the July deadline Aaron had set for himself. Caroline listened without expression. When I finished, she looked at her notes for a moment. Washington is a community property state, she said. Everything acquired during the marriage is jointly owned. The apartment, the investment accounts, his 401k contributions during the marriage, your retirement savings, all of it subject to equitable division. I know, I said. Do you have documentation of the joint assets? I have 6 years of joint tax returns, bank statements, and investment account records, I said. I've been organizing them for the past 2 weeks. Caroline looked at me over her reading glasses with the expression of someone who has met a lot of people in difficult situations and can identify the ones who are going to be fine. Mrs. Monroe, she said, what exactly are you planning? I opened my laptop. I turned it to face her. On the screen was a Google Sheets document. It was titled Monroe Asset Division Matrix Version 1.0. 40 rows, color-coded by category, weighted by acquisition date, contribution percentage, and projected value. At the bottom, a total figure that represented my share of 6 years of combined assets, calculated to the dollar, documented to the source record. Caroline looked at it for a long moment. Then she looked at me. You built this yourself, she said. I'm a designer, I said. I understand systems. A pause. Mrs. Monroe, Caroline said carefully, your husband is a data analyst. Yes, I said. And you responded to his spreadsheet. With a better one, I said. Caroline Fisk, family law attorney, composed professional, keeper of other people's worst days for 22 years, smiled. It was small. It was brief. It was entirely genuine. Let's get to work, she said. The spreadsheet took me 11 days to complete, not because the data was hard to find. 6 years of joint financial records are, if you have been a reasonably organized person throughout your marriage, entirely accessible. Tax returns, bank statements, investment account summaries, property records, the accumulated paper trail of 2 people who had been building something together, documented clearly and completely because that is what responsible adults do. The difficulty was not the data. The difficulty was the framing. Aaron thought in optimization frameworks. He thought in weighted categories and trajectory projections and opportunity cost analysis. If I was going to speak his language, if I was going to make him understand, in terms he could not dismiss or reframe, exactly what he was proposing to walk away from, I needed to build something he would recognize. Something better than what he had built. I worked on it every day while he was at the office. I used the same Google Sheets format, the same weighted scoring structure, the same color coding system he had used in his own documents. But where his spreadsheets had been about people, about evaluating human beings against numerical criteria as if compatibility were a supply chain problem, mine was about assets. Concrete, documented, legally verifiable assets. The apartment we had bought together 3 years ago, now worth $180,000 more than the purchase price. The joint investment account we had contributed to equally throughout the marriage, currently valued at $290,000. His 401k, to which community property law entitled me to half of the contributions made during our marriage. My own retirement savings. The tax implications of various division scenarios, which Caroline had helped me model across 3 different approaches. Every number had a source document attached. Every projection had a methodology note. At the bottom of the final tab, in the same cell position where his spreadsheets had put their summary conclusions, I had written one line. Total documented marital estate, $847,000. Rachel Monroe's equitable share per Washington State Community Property Law, $423,500. I looked at that number for a long time when I finished. Not with satisfaction exactly, with the specific clarity of someone who has translated a painful situation into a language that removes the pain from the equation and leaves only the facts. Aaron had spent 6 years optimizing his life. He had simply not accounted for the fact that I was part of that optimization, and that when you exit an optimization system, you take your contribution with you. Caroline reviewed the completed spreadsheet in our second meeting. She went through it tab by tab, cross-referencing against the source documents I had brought in a neatly organized folder, color-coded by category, because I am who I am. When she finished, she set the folder down and looked at me. This is the most organized, pre-filing asset documentation I have received in 22 years of practice, she said. My husband would appreciate that, I said. Does he know you're here? No, I said. Does he know you found the spreadsheets? No, I said. She nodded slowly. How are you doing? Actually, it was the same question James's father had asked in a different story, the simple human question asked in an unordinary moment. I found, answering it, that I had to think honestly. I'm okay, I said, which surprises me. I thought finding out your husband has been scoring you like a job applicant for 6 years would feel worse than this. How does it feel? She said. Clarifying, I said. Like the ground shifted, but I'm still standing on it. Caroline nodded. She had heard variations of this answer before, the specific equanimity of someone who has moved through the worst of something and come out the other side still functional. When do you want to file? She said. I had thought about this carefully. Not yet, I said. There's something I need to do first. I told Aaron on a Thursday evening. Not impulsively. I had chosen Thursday deliberately. Not a Friday, which would have given him a weekend to regroup and strategize before I could move forward with Caroline. A Thursday after dinner, when the dishes were done and the kitchen was clean and the apartment had the specific quiet of an ordinary evening. I sat across from him at the kitchen table. I placed my phone between us, opened to the photograph of the first spreadsheet. Partner selection matrix version 2.3. Aaron looked at the screen. Something moved across his face. A rapid internal sequence that I watched with the attention of someone who has been studying a subject carefully and is now seeing the data confirm the hypothesis. First, recognition. Then, the specific stillness of someone deciding how to respond. Then, briefly, the beginning of a justification forming. I spoke before the justification arrived. I found it 6 weeks ago, I said. By accident. The same way I found the second one. He went very still. The relationship evaluation framework, I said. Q1, with the opportunity cost analysis. And Diane. And Sophie. I paused. And my score, which has apparently dropped 13 points since you decided to proceed. The kitchen was completely quiet. Aaron looked at the table. He was doing something I had seen him do in professional contexts when presented with data that contradicted his model. Recalibrating, reordering, looking for the angle that made the numbers workable. Rachel, he said finally, it's not. The way it looks isn't. Aaron, I said quietly, I'm a designer. I understand systems. I know exactly what it looks like because I know how to read the architecture. He stopped. I'm not here to fight, I said. I'm not here to cry or beg or ask you to explain yourself. I'm here because I think you deserve to know that I know. And because there's something I want to show you. I placed my laptop on the table and opened it. The Monroe Asset Division Matrix version 1.0 filled the screen. Aaron, data analyst, optimizer, man who had built a spreadsheet to choose his wife, leaned forward and began to read. He read for a long time. I watched him go through it tab by tab, the way he read everything important, methodically, completely, without skipping. I watched him reach the Source Documents tab where I had indexed every supporting record. I watched him reach the Methodology notes. I watched him reach the final tab with the summary line. $423,500. He sat back. You built this, he said. Over 11 days, I said. Caroline Fisk helped with the legal framework. The data is all mine. Caroline Fisk, he repeated. The family law attorney. Yes, I said. He looked at the screen for another moment. Then at me. How long have you been planning this? He said. Since the Sunday you left your laptop open, I said. He processed that. 6 weeks of normal dinners and ordinary evenings and conversations about the neighbor's renovation. All of it happening while I had been quietly, methodically building the exit strategy he hadn't known I was building. I recognized the expression on his face. It was the expression of a man who had believed he was the only one running the numbers. Rachel, he started. I have one question, I said. And I'd like an honest answer, because I think you owe me that much. He waited. The first spreadsheet, I said, before you asked me to marry you. When you scored me at 94. I looked at him steadily. Did any part of what you felt for me exist outside of that document? Or was it the document all the way down? A long silence. Aaron looked at the table. When he looked up, his expression was, for the first time since I had known him, entirely unguarded, stripped of the evaluative quality, the optimization framework, all of it. No, he said quietly. It wasn't the document all the way down. I looked at him for a moment. That's the most honest thing you've said to me in 6 weeks, I said. I closed the laptop. Caroline will be in touch with your attorney, I said. I stood up. Aaron stayed at the table, looking at the space where the spreadsheet had been, and I walked to the bedroom and closed the door quietly behind me. Not dramatically, not with tears or raised voices. Just a door, closing on a version of a life that had been, it turned out, more complicated underneath than it had looked on the surface. Which, I thought, leaning against the closed door in the quiet of the bedroom we had shared for 5 years, was something we apparently had in common. The divorce took 4 months. Not because it was contentious. It wasn't. Not in the way divorces are contentious when people are fighting over who was wrong or who deserves more pain. Aaron was, to his credit, exactly what I had always known him to be in professional contexts. Fair, precise, and unwilling to argue against data he couldn't refute. And he could not refute the data. The Monroe Asset Division Matrix version 1.0 had been reviewed by his attorney, a man named David Park, who called Caroline on the second day and asked, with barely concealed professional curiosity, whether my client had considered a career in forensic accounting. Caroline relayed this to me with the closest thing to delight I had seen from her. The asset division settled at almost exactly the figures I had calculated. The apartment was sold. Both of us agreed this was cleaner than one party buying out the other, and the proceeds split per the community property formula I had documented. The investment accounts divided cleanly. The retirement contributions calculated correctly. $423,500. Every dollar I had modeled. Not a dollar more, not a dollar less. There was one moment during the process that I want to tell you about because it matters. We had a final in-person meeting. Aaron, me, both attorneys, to sign the settlement agreement. Standard procedure. The kind of meeting that exists to make official what has already been decided, where the paperwork catches up with the reality. Aaron and I sat on opposite sides of a conference table for the last time as a married couple. He looked tired in a way I hadn't seen before. Not the productive tiredness of someone who has been working hard, but the specific exhaustion of someone who has been sitting with something uncomfortable for 4 months without resolution. While the attorneys reviewed the final documents, Aaron looked at me across the table. "Can I ask you something?" he said quietly. I looked at him. "The spreadsheet you built," he said. "The asset division one. How long did it actually take you?" 11 days, I said. He nodded slowly. "It was better than mine," he said. "Methodologically. The source documentation system was really good work." I looked at my soon-to-be ex-husband, this man who had scored me out of 100 points and found me worthy of proceeding, and understood that this was, in his language, through his framework, the most genuine thing he knew how to say. A compliment about methodology. From Aaron Monroe, data analyst, optimizer of everything including apparently his marriage, that was an apology, a concession, and a form of grief all at once. "Thank you," I said. We signed the documents. We shook hands in the elevator, which sounds strange but felt, in context, exactly right. Two people who had been something to each other, acknowledging the end of it with the specific formality that neither tears nor anger could have managed. The elevator doors opened. We walked out in different directions. Meg was waiting outside. She had a coffee in each hand, and the expression of someone who has been a best friend through the worst of something, and is prepared to continue being a best friend through whatever comes next. She handed me the coffee. "How do you feel?" she said. I thought about it honestly, standing on a Seattle sidewalk in June with a coffee cup warming my hands and 4 months of the most clarifying experience of my adult life settling into something I could carry without it being all I was carrying. "Lighter," I said. "Good lighter or empty lighter?" "Good," I said. "Definitely good." She linked her arm through mine and we started walking. "So," she said, "what happens now?" What happened next was, in some ways, the most interesting part. I moved into a rental apartment in Capitol Hill, a 1-bedroom with good light, and a small balcony where I immediately put too many plants, because it turned out that having a space that was entirely and uncomplicatedly mine produced in me an enthusiasm for houseplants that I had not previously known was latent. I took on 3 new clients in the first month. Not because I needed the distraction. I am not someone who medicates difficulty with overwork, but because the energy I had been spending on quietly building an exit strategy for 4 months was now available for other things, and design work, it turned out, was a very good place to put it. I also did something I had been thinking about since the Thursday evening. I closed the laptop and walked to the bedroom. I opened a new Google Sheets document. I titled it, and I want to be precise about this because the title matters. Rachel Monroe, What I Actually Want. Version 1.0. Not a scoring matrix, not a comparison framework, not an optimization model, just a list. What I wanted from work, what I wanted from a home, what I wanted from friendships, what I wanted from a relationship if and when one became relevant again. Not in terms of weighted categories and compatibility scores, but in terms of how I wanted to feel. Seen, chosen, not as the highest scoring option, but as the specific person I actually was. It was the least data-driven document I had ever created. It was also the most honest. I looked at it for a long time when I finished. Then I saved it, closed the laptop, went out onto the balcony with a cup of coffee, and looked at Seattle doing what Seattle does on a good June morning, the specific, luminous quality of Pacific Northwest light when it finally decides to appear, everything clean and green and quietly extraordinary. I heard about Aaron through mutual friends, the way you hear about people after divorces. In fragments, secondhand, the occasional update that arrives without you having asked for it. Diane, it turned out, had not been interested in whatever Aaron had been evaluating her for. She had, according to someone who knew someone, started dating a project manager from her team who, by all accounts, had not scored her out of 100 points before asking her to dinner. Sophie I never learned anything about. Aaron was, as far as I knew, still optimizing, still running the numbers, still believing that the right framework would eventually produce the right outcome. I thought about him sometimes with the specific, uncomplicated feeling of someone who wishes a person well from a sufficient distance. He was not a bad man. He was a man who had made the category error of treating human beings like data sets, and who had not understood, until the woman he had scored at 94 walked into a lawyer's office with a better spreadsheet than his, that some things cannot be optimized without being destroyed in the process. Love is not a supply chain problem. It took him longer to learn that than it should have. It took me 6 years, and one very good spreadsheet to understand it clearly. But I got there. Last month I had dinner with Meg at a restaurant we love in Fremont, the kind of place that has been there for 20 years and shows no signs of changing, which in Seattle is either a miracle or a monument depending on how you look at it. We order the same things we always order. We talked about her new job, my new clients, the plants on my balcony, which had expanded to what Meg described as a concerning degree, and which I preferred to think of as a considered horticultural investment. At some point, she looked at me across the table with the specific attention of a best friend taking an honest inventory. "You're happy," she said. Not a question. "I'm happy," I said. Like actually, I said. She nodded. She picked up her wine glass. "To better spreadsheets," she said. I picked up mine. "To better spreadsheets," I said. We clinked glasses. Outside the Fremont restaurant, the Seattle evening was doing its thing. The long June light that refuses to quit, the city moving through it at its own rhythm, indifferent and beautiful and entirely unoptimized. I thought about a document titled Partner Selection, Matrix version 2.3. I thought about a document titled Monroe Asset Division, Matrix version 1.0. I thought about a document titled Rachel Monroe, What I Actually Want, version 1.0. 3 spreadsheets, 1 story. His had scored me a 94 and found me worth proceeding with. Mine had calculated $423,500 and found me worth fighting for. But the third one, the simple, honest, entirely unscientific list of what I actually wanted from my own life, that one had no score at the bottom. It didn't need one. Some things, it turns out, are worth exactly as much as you decide they are. Not a point more, not a point less.